Hello, I'm Sai from Design Plus Code, and welcome to my course, Flutter for Designers. Flutter is a toolkit that makes it easy to build beautiful cross-platform apps that run just like native apps. Flutter apps are built with the declarative UI. If you're coming from Swift UI or React Native, you'll instantly find Flutter very familiar. Flutter is also built to use a system's native components. By utilizing a device's native components, like a label or a text field, Flutter apps can build and run in record time. This helps the user experience of an app by making it as smooth as possible. Another advantage of Flutter is that with a single code base, we can build for both platforms without having to make too many changes. This is the Design Plus Code course app we will be building. While developing this app, we'll learn a lot about app development with Flutter and how to create beautiful designs. The Figma file for this app is attached below, so you can compare your progress as we continue to develop the app. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, it is fully interactive. We'll learn how to use Flutter widgets, which are tiny components that come together to make the app you see. We'll see how to add text fields, like in the search bar, and how to detect gestures, like tapping to dismiss the keyboard. We'll also learn how to create custom animations, like the sidebar, which slides in from the left and darkens the view behind it. We'll also learn how to navigate between different screens in the app. For example, when I tap on this card, it presents a new view, and it is also very interactive. We can also take our animations to the next level by creating this magic move effect. If you'll notice this icon over here, we can see that it moves from the top of this card to the top of the next page when tapped upon. With Flutter, this animation is possible with as little as 2 lines of code. Finally, we'll take a look at how to run platform-specific UI. For example, on iOS, a typical transition between pages is the navigation push from right to left. However, on Android, this isn't the case. Android screens are normally presented modally. Flutter can account for both platforms and respect the transition needed. Flutter can also handle creating different UI elements for each platform. For example, in the sidebar on iOS, we have icons that reflect the iOS design language. On Android, these icons change to reflect Android's design language. This is also possible in Flutter. Flutter apps are built using the Flutter and Dart SDK. Dart is a new declarative programming language that is super simple to learn and, in my opinion, takes the best parts of C, Python, Java, and JavaScript. To build Flutter apps, we'll have to download some programs and applications. So let's get started. So now we'll get started with installing the Flutter SDK. And below you'll find information to download Android Studio 4.0.1 and Xcode if needed. Right now I'm on Xcode 12, the beta version, but this isn't required as Flutter has been around for some time and should work well with Xcode 11 and macOS Catalina. So to get started, I'm going to go to flutter.dev, and over here you'll find all the information you need about Flutter. You can find the documentation, some apps that have been developed with Flutter, or an extensive community that's ever growing and is quite responsive if you have any questions. You can also, if needed, try Flutter in your browser just to see how it will work. I'm going to click on Get Started, and it will take me to an installation page, which will give me instructions on how to install the SDK. I'll click on macOS for now and follow what's on here, but you should definitely click the button which respects your operating system. So I'm going to go to Terminal now, and what I'm going to do is install the Flutter SDK through Git. This will make sure that we are always on the latest Flutter package, and we can also switch between different channels if needed. We can switch between the stable channel or the beta channel. So I'm going to create a new folder by typing mkdir and flutter dev. I'm going to navigate to this folder, and in this folder, I will now clone the Git repository. You can do this by typing git clone https://github.com/flutter/flutter.git. and this is going to take some time. So after Git has cloned the repository, you should be able to go to the Flutter dev folder we created, and inside you'll find the entire Flutter SDK. Now, if you've downloaded packages before, you're probably expecting to type Flutter and expect to see the list of commands. However, our terminal is saying that the command is not found. This is because while we have downloaded the Flutter SDK, terminal does not know where to find it. To do this, we'll have to edit our RC file. To get started, first we'll go back to our Flutter SDK folder, click on the bin folder and press Command C. This will copy the path to the SDK. Heading back to terminal, to open our vim file, we will go to vim:/.zshrc. This will open the RC file where we can explicitly give commands to terminal. Scrolling all the way to the bottom of the file, let's press I, which will take us to insert mode. Let's scroll all the way to the right, press enter a couple times, and now we'll type this one line that will tell terminal where to find our Flutter SDK. Type export path is equal to, and now press Command V, which will take us to the bin folder. Then, to end it off, you'll type $path all caps. To exit out of insert mode, press the escape button on your keyboard, press colon and WQ. These commands will save the file as well as exit out of the file. Now, if we open a new terminal window, let me just close that. If we open a new terminal window and type Flutter, we should see that it should start downloading the Dart SDK. Since it knows where our Flutter SDK is, it'll download all the dependencies it needs for Flutter to run successfully. This could take some time. With that complete, you should finally have the Dart SDK as well as the Flutter SDK downloaded. If you open a new terminal window, you should type Flutter, 2 hyphens, and version, and you'll be able to verify that everything is working as expected. Now that we have our Flutter SDK downloaded onto our system, let's open up Android Studio. This is where we'll be doing most of our coding, so we need Android Studio to also know where our Flutter SDK is located. Click on Configure and click on SDK Manager. A new window will open up, which is kind of the settings page of Android Studio. Click on Plugins to the left, and make sure that you have Marketplace selected. Now we're going to search for Flutter, and the first result should be the one we want, by flutter.dev. Click on Install, and you can see that it requires the Dart plugin to be installed as well. So we'll click Install. This should take a very short time, and once it's downloaded and installed, we can restart IDE and apply the changes. When it opens up, you should see that we have a new option called Start a New Flutter Project. Now we're all set to create our new Flutter project. Click on Start a New Flutter Project, select Flutter Application, click Next, and name your project. I will set this to Design Code. Make sure that your Flutter SDK is set to the correct path. Android Studio should automatically detect this, but it's good to make sure that you have the right path. Select a location to save your project, and optionally, you may set a description for the project. Click on Next, and set the package name. I'll set this to io.designcode.designcode, and make sure that the remaining settings are set as is. Click on Finish, and wait as Android Studio will slowly set up your project. Now, when Android Studio has finished creating your Flutter project, you'll see something like this. And if you've never used Android Studio before, don't worry, it's pretty simple to navigate. Over here, you'll find all your files. We'll open design code and we can see that we have a list of files. We have a web file for running web apps, an iOS file, an Android file, but most of our code will be in this lib file. Main.dart is the first file which Flutter looks for when running an app. We have a function called main, which calls another function called runApp, which directs you to a class called myApp. In future lessons, I'll explain what a stateless widget is, what widgets are, what the material app is, as well as how to understand all of this code. If you want to see what this code does, we can actually do that right now. Click on Open iOS Simulator, and as the iOS Simulator boots up, let me just rearrange my pages here. And now I'm going to click on the play button over here. This will immediately start to build the Flutter app that comes pre-installed as part of the starter application. Since we're running it for the first time, we can see that Flutter is downloading a set of iOS tools. Finally, Flutter will download iOS tools, iOS profile tools, and iOS release tools. After that, it'll run an Xcode build, and then it'll open up the app on the simulator. This is a fairly simple app. It basically counts the number of times you've pushed this button. But as you can see, all of it is displayed right over here. Now, I don't want to get too much into the details and modifying this code before explaining some of the basics to you, but I want to demonstrate to you the concept of hot reload. Hot reload makes it easy to make changes on the fly without having to rebuild your entire application. As you can see, the color scheme of this app is mostly blue. But if we were to change it to something like red, and then press Command S to save, we can see that instantly it changes on the fly, and we did not even have to rebuild the entire app. This is just one of the advantages that comes with the Flutter SDK. Now that we have all the tools needed, we're ready to start coding in Flutter. In the next section, I will introduce you to the concept of widgets and how we can create our very own widgets on iOS and Android. I'll see you in the next section.